Most people are missing out on significant improvements in efficiency, strength, and with that weight on the bar when they squat. And it's usually due to small fixable mistakes. So with that in mind, we're going to cover 5 simple tips that will instantly help you improve, level up your squat, if you will. These are not complicated cues and it's not advanced programming. Like most physical tasks, squatting is all about performing a few relatively simple things, but very well and very consistently. So with that in mind, these are straightforward changes that you can enact right away to help you lift more weight and, quite frankly, squat with some more confidence. Stick around to the end, we're going to have a bonus tip that covers an error that many people make with their back, and almost always they don't know that they're making it. Number 1, stance. Too wide of a stance is a problem in terms of hitting depth, but so is too narrow of a stance. So keep it simple. You're going to take a stance with your heels at roughly shoulder width. You're going to point your toes out about 30 degrees, and then remember that your toes are now arrows for where your knees, where your femurs are going to travel, so that when you start to squat, yes, your knees will go forward, of course, because that's what knees generally do when they bend, but they're also going to go out. They're going to kind of travel in a diagonal path, if you will. So we very often cue people to shove their knees apart when they squat, technically forward and apart, but you're going to focus on the apart aspect, and your stance functions as kind of a template for where your knees are going to go. Number 2, get yourself a pair of good, solid lifting shoes. In other words, don't go lifting in, if you can avoid it. Don't go squatting in running shoes. Don't go squatting in chucks. Don't go squatting barefoot. They make lifting shoes just like they make basketball shoes for a reason. They make soccer cleats for a reason. They make lifting shoes for a reason. And the most important thing is the rigid, non-compressible sole. We'll link to some options below. They're not the only lifting shoes out there, but I would highly recommend lifting in lifting shoes. Once you've done it, lifting on anything else feels like a pillow by comparison. So you want to lift with a solid base of support, and lifting shoes provide exactly that. They provide a very efficient force transfer between you and the floor. Number 3, as you initiate your descent, you're going to simply reach back with your hips and point your chest down at the floor. In other words, you're going to consciously lean over. Don't confuse a straight back with a vertical back. We want a straight back, yes. We don't need a vertical back. And in fact, this is one of the ways that your back gets stronger. So yes, your knees are going to go apart, but also you're going to reach back with your hips and you're going to point your chest at the floor as you descend. This puts you in a stronger position to come back up out of the hole, and it will also be easier to achieve depth. Number 4, you got in that nice leaned over position on your descent. Now, number 4, stay in your lean. Stay in that leaned over position for longer than you think on the way back up. So don't raise your chest early. Yes, you're going to finish with a vertical torso, but don't try to get it vertical right away. Much like on the deadlift, you try to get that torso, you try to get that back angle too vertical right away. It will make for a harder, weaker, less efficient squat. So on the way up, stay in your lean for longer than you think. Drive your hips. Number 5, breathing. We as humans generally know how to breathe when trying to do something really physically hard. We know it from birth. You know how to do it when you're constipated. You go, you know how to do it when you're trying to push a stuck car. You do the same thing. But often when we get under a bar, our brains start to get in the way a little bit. We have time to think, and thanks to fitness magazines from like the 80s and 90s, we've got this whole like breathing in on the way down, breathing out on the way up type of thing going on. You do not want to breathe and brace that way. Lungs full of oxygen, lungs full of air are very useful for stability. So fill up your lungs with air, take a big breath, and hold that breath with tightly clenched abs, really tightly clenched every single muscle in your trunk, in your midsection. And if you're not sure how to hold your breath, you don't want to do it against your lips, you're not trying to look like a blowfish. You're actually holding your breath in the back of your throat. You can do it with your mouth closed or your mouth open, but if you're not sure whether or not you're doing it correctly, try saying the word hic and holding the CK sound. Hic. And then just pretend like you're being punched. So you're going to tighten everything in your midsection. You're going to hold that breath all the way down, all the way back up, and then, and only then, release your breath, and then, of course, take another breath for the next rep. All right, and last here, the bonus tip, what to do with your back, or more specifically, what not to do with your back. Now, it is true we don't want a rounded back, right? We've already covered the difference between a vertical back and a straight back. We want a straight back. Don't worry about whether your back is vertical. It's going to start vertical, of course, and you're going to end vertical, but during the squat, it's going to travel through a host of different angles. You will get into a relatively leaned over position, and you're going to come back to a vertical position at the end of the squat. However, A lot of people who have not lifted before, who are new to lifting, they're very afraid of this rounded back position. It is true, we don't want a rounded back, but primarily we don't want a rounded back because it is less efficient and it tends to cause soreness more than anything else. However, what we especially do not want is an arched back. In other words, an overextended back. The back, especially the low back, that makes it look like you're trying to twerk, all right? That tends to cause far more problems over the course of seeing hundreds, thousands of lifters and hundreds of thousands of squat reps. I'm here to tell you that, and especially on the deadlift as well, that tends to cause far more problems than a rounded back. So you do not want to overextend your back. You just want a straight, you can call it a neutral back, if you will. So remember, when you're getting set, yes, lift your chest at the top, and then again, like we talked about in breathing and bracing, simply clamp down on every single muscle in your midsection. It is the job of the muscles of your trunk. This is how they get stronger. It is the job of those muscles to make your back into one single segment. It is technically many segments, right? You have many vertebrae, but it is the job of the muscles of your midsection to turn your back into something that's like your femur, one segment. So you do not want a rounded back, but definitely do not arch your back. If you're not sure whether or not you're doing this, watch yourself on video. If as you squat, either on the way down or on the way up, you start to see more wrinkles develop in the back of your shirt, specifically the base of the back of your shirt, you are probably overextending your back. So clamp down on your back, clamp down on your abs. You can remind yourself to have tight abs. If you tend to overdo it, you can even cue yourself. You got to be careful with this one, obviously. You can even cue yourself to flex your back or round your back. No, again, that's an overcue. We don't want a rounded back. But for kind of overly flexible people who are able to overextend their back, you really don't want to be in that position. So you can overcue yourself. In other words, you can lie to yourself just a little bit to make sure that you just have a straight back. As always, we hope these cues help you get stronger and live better.